Barbara Becker Holstein, and I'm in town. I'm in the city. You know, a lot of you're so used to finding me in the Enchanted Self kitchen or the Enchanted Self living room. Not today. I had to come to town. So I'm sitting here in a restaurant, and I left the Enchanted Self realm way behind. I hope to get back to it tonight. And I'm busy. I even have my papers right with me. I'm working over with a cup of tea. And actually, I'm going to have some time with one of my colleagues, Thor the Barbarian. He has to come in from his realm also, so I suppose we're going to have another minute or perhaps before he gets in from his realm. That's good, because it gives me a chance to just make you familiar one more time with the Enchanted Self. I discovered the Enchanted Self. It's a special place between the mind, body, spirit, and our hearts. It's a place where we feel whole and where we meet our stride and where we experience joy and we know what's right for ourselves and we feel a sense of purpose. I like to say we can even sing the song of our souls. And so in the Enchanted Self, and getting back to the Enchanted Self, experiencing the Enchanted Self has become a passion of mine. I'm actually working on some secrets to getting there today, and I'm hoping to share them with both you and Thor. Oh, yes, I think Thor's coming into the coffee shop right now. Hi, Thor.
Barbara, greetings. How are you?
I'm great. I hope you had an easy trip in from your realm.
Yes, it was a long commute from the wooded hills of Pennsylvania, but
Yes?
here I am.
Oh, I'm so
in town.
glad. You know, I've been working on these secrets to the Enchanted Self, and particularly secrets to the Enchanted Gateways, and I thought we could process them together. You have so many ideas.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I enjoy adventures with the Enchantress.
Oh, and I enjoy adventures with the Thor the Barbarian. So, yeah, how about we start with the first gateway, and I tell you a little about it.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay. The first gateway is getting to know yourself in positive ways, getting to find once again the best of yourself, the talents, the strengths, the lost potential, and even those coping skills that we all think are just nothing, but they're really something. Let me give you a little example,
Okay.
and then I'm sure you're going to have at least one example of what it means to get back in touch with our Enchanted Self through this first gateway of getting to know yourself. I had a client, I'll call her Stacy. Well, she had a really difficult mother and an aunt. They criticized all the time. They were very, very mean. They didn't even come to her college graduation. They were indifferent, dysfunction all over the place. Well, long story short, she reached a point in her therapy where one day she came in and she said to me, you know, my aunt and my mother had so many bad characteristics, but you know what? It's not as simple as that. They also had a lot of good talents that have helped me develop. And she went on to say, you know, I love to knit, I love to sew, I have the best garden in the neighborhood. I'm fabulous with all sorts of remedies and things that they taught me. On the other hand, the dark side of them, that criticism, that ability to put me down, I've turned it around and I have the most wonderful skill at work. I'm the guardian of the tongues. I never say anything mean. I watch everything I say. I may think horrible things in my head, but I don't share them. You know, I really am careful what I do, what I say. I've done really well in my professional life. And I'm getting a sense that I am a very special person with lots of talents, even some that came from the dark side. So that's my example.
That's a very good example. And as I heard you speak, I started relating it to some of the things that I'm doing. One of the things that I do is I help people live their legend, tell their tale. And one of the first analogies I give them is that when we watch entertainment, or when we read entertainment, we have no difficulty establishing who the hero is, who the protagonist is, or the heroine. And the protagonist is very rarely a perfect person. It's often somebody who has strengths but also flaws. And the story unfolds where they confront one difficult situation after another, and they're transformed through the situation and they triumph. But it's not smooth sailing, and many times they're not even making the correct choices because they don't have enough information. And yet, we know that they're the hero or the heroine, and we root for them. And how rarely do we look upon our own lives in this way? We are, or should be, the center of our own little universe, the center of our own life story. And often we're not. We play peripheral parts.
You're going right to the second gateway. Let me back up before we slide right into it, because that's really the core. Let me keep that a secret a second. But what you're saying, how can a person listening to us work on reassessing and finding both the strengths that came out of real talents from growing up, and also coping skills now turned into strengths because they lived with dysfunction, they lived with pain, they lived with disappointments. You know, here's a very simple exercise for people to do. All you have to do is sit quietly. You can write things down, or if you prefer not to, just do it in your head, daydreaming. Pick a time in your life, because you'll do the exercise many times. Pick different times at different times you do it. Pick a time and think about the talents you exhibited at that age, the strengths, the potential, the dreams you had then, and also your coping skills. So, for example, at 10 years of age, one of my talents was an ability to get up in front of the room and give a report and speak in front of others. One of my dreams was to travel and know people around the world. And probably one of my coping skills was to handle loneliness, that I was often alone. My mother was going to school and didn't come home, and my dad was busy as an educator. So that's just a sample. Then, to finish the process, to bring these forward and start to play with how they integrate today. Well, here I am doing mass communication, and when this little tape is up as streaming on the web, literally reaching the world, and I am busy presenting and talking in front of people, and that's just a sample. So that's an activity.
That's a very good activity.
For the person to just leap into.
I have one too that I'll share. Getting back to telling your tale, and I like Barbara's concept of the enchanted self. I'm a man, and my testosterone would call it the heroic self or something like that. But we all tell our life stories all the time. And when we share information about our day with our spouse, or when we're talking to our friend on the telephone, we tell our story, we tell our tale. What I would ask people to do is listen to the tale they're telling and recognize the role that they're assuming in the tale. Are they being victimized in the tale, or are they overcoming obstacles in a heroic way and transcending and being transformed?
And even if you tell the story once and you sound, oh boy, I sound like a really like a victim, then they could tell it again.
Of course.
Turning it into what they learned or what they got from this time of life, and it will help people see that even bad periods of life are really helping the hero or heroine just strengthen themselves.
Of course, some of the best things that happened to me in my life came out of periods that I would have considered the worst when I was going through them, and yet they led to transformations, that led to understandings, that led to a new and better life. So we never know while we're in our adventure whether it will lead to good or ill. And sometimes the things that seem to lead to goodness lead to very bad places. Right. And sometimes difficult and problematic and impossible situations lead to great things.
But if you can take your exercise, which I think is a great one, and do it in the car or do it with your family as a narrative, so you all share in getting to tell pieces of your lives. That's very important. It goes right into the second gateway, so I think I better not keep it a secret any longer.
I must tell you, though, I'm not very good at keeping secrets. I'm a barbarian, so...
Yes, I know. But the Enchantress, we work a little more magically. We have our little pouches with our little secret sayings and things inside, so we don't always, I picked up blank sayings, but, actually these are so we can write our own wisdom. But there's always something in an Enchantress's pouch.
And I'd like to thank you for the necklace. Moonin enjoyed the gift and treasures the necklace.
Well, unfortunately, I raced to leave my realm so quickly today, and I leaped on the train, and I forgot my enchanted necklace. But I have my enchanted wisdom and blessing cards. And as women, we often have, let's say, a bag of tricks. And as a barbarian, it's a whole different story. But anyway, leaping into the second gateway, revealing the secret, the second gateway is all about falling in love with yourself. And it's what you're saying. If you take the time to build that narrative and see that the thunderbolt, critical things that happened, as horrible as they felt or as wonderful as they felt, all were part of your life story, giving you energy for the next stage. It's very different than just, woe is me.
Correct.
Now, one of my examples about this is one of my clients had, she was feeling pretty bad about her life story. Her husband was very critical. He wasn't that nice. She could have left him, but for many, many reasons she chose not to. Instead, she began to reframe her life story almost as if she was independent. So if he started on her and he started using negative speech and so on, she would say something like, I'm just going out, I'm taking a ride, or I'm doing some errands. I hope you're in a better space when I get back. And she ultimately said things like, if you're not, I will consider leaving you. The truth was there was really some glue there in the marriage, and he wanted to stay, and she kind of wanted to stay. Long story short, she stayed, but what happened was she kept reframing the independent part of her life so that she had personal hobbies, personal interests, retreats, all sorts of things that she was doing on her own. Plus, the husband got a clear signal. Very often we think we're sending a clear signal, but we're not. She finally was able to, and he pulled back. He just watched some of his language and speech and didn't criticize her for ordering a baked potato in a restaurant. Just the crazy things that people do that can humiliate each other. And things got better. Now, this is a kind of ordinary story. It's not particularly the kind they do novels about, but I bring it up because lots of us have to fall in love with ourselves just doing a normal life.
Oh, of course. And you brought up several very important points. One is reframing. How you frame a situation determines not only how you see the situation, but how you experience the situation and how you re-experience the situation. So in the process of reframing it, trying to tell a different story or connecting it differently, and then the second part is acting as if something were already true. We fall into patterns of behavior that are easily broken if we look at what the ideal would be and then start acting as if the ideal was true. And a lot of people said, oh, that's make-believe, that's pretending. But no, you're allowing yourself to feel how things would be if they were different than they currently are. And that becomes habitual and you become accustomed to it. And then very shortly, as in the story that you just told, it becomes your reality.
That's right. And I think one thing you're very good at, and you teach a lot about, Thor, is not to be afraid to talk as if. To talk about your plans, tell people what you're doing, and every time you do, it becomes a little closer to a reality.
The Vikings taught me that. When the Vikings would get together in their big halls and drink mead, they would boast. And in the boast, they would tell tales about not only exploits, and of course they would embellish them and make them, more heroic, but they would boast about the things that they were going to accomplish that were even greater until the next feasting time. So by doing this, they took all the experiences they had, and all of these adventures were mostly boredom, sitting on boats and doing things like that, interspersed with very short bursts of activity. But in the tale, it was all exciting and energizing, and they gave meaning to what happened to them, and that's something totally in our control.
Absolutely.
And by boasting, they were making a commitment, because by publicly stating what they were going to do to save face, they knew that they had to do these things.
I think that's a wonderful technique. I like that. And it does incorporate another thing that I teach, which is optimism and not feeling, not sort of having the sourpuss that says, oh, everything went wrong today, which I'm not saying you shouldn't share with a loved one if you really need to. But it's so uplifting to have someone able to tell you interesting things that happened. For example, I was in the subway the other day, and I was sitting like here, and then you have the tracks on the other side. Literally, so our eyes lined up, was a man with a guitar and collecting money, singing God Bless America. And it was as if we were in some paradise together. I loved the song. I felt like we had this harmonic moment, and I was clapping, and the kid next to me started to sing a little bit, and when he was done, he said something about, she's on the other side, and of course that probably meant I couldn't give a quarter, but then he waved to me, and he had this wonderful look of thanks for supporting me. And it was just the best. So just recounting that kind of little adventure, it's like the Vikings. You sit all day, and then you see the giant seagull or something, the whale, something to bring home to talk about.
And it's exciting, and you have something uplifting to share.
That's right.
And often it's something ordinary, but magical.
It was magical. Now, in terms of a homework assignment for us as we go through the second gateway, simply taking the time to tell the story of your life, whether it's the whole story with your grandchildren or children, and you're sitting around a campfire, or a Sunday afternoon and it's raining and you just take the time, or whether it's the story of, like last Sunday, these 5 minutes that happened. Take the time to tell the story so that you become bigger than life. And you can again reprocess who you are and see something special. I mean, I could have been someone that wouldn't have supported him, wouldn't have waved to him, wouldn't have clapped. Hey, 1,000 people could have been indifferent. I took the moment.
And you gave both of you a very precious and priceless treasure.
Right.
One of the things that I find helpful is everybody has a hero or a heroine or some figure, whether the figure is legendary, mythical, or real, that they associate themselves with, that they identify with. And that is kind of like the symbol for our road to becoming. We have enough of it in us to identify with it, and yet we're not quite there yet. So that kind of identifies our next stretch of road. And I'll make it a little bit more concrete, because it sounds abstract.
Yeah.
I'm currently getting back into shape. And my busy life doesn't allow me the luxury of time to do as much weightlifting as I'd like, but now I've made it a priority. So I have in my little weightlifting room a mirror, and then I have pictures of Conan the Barbarian and the Scorpion King and other type of ideal bodies that I'd like to emulate. So with the mirror, I see what my current reality is, and with these pictures, I see what it is that I'm trying to create. And I have them both there. So then when I'm looking in the mirror, it's not beating yourself up or telling myself negative things. It's kind of like creating a sculpture. So I see the type of image I would like to ideally create, and I see where I am right now. Wow. And between those two images, every pound I lift and every repetition I do and every set I do is helping me go from where the mirror is to where these photographs or paintings are.
So that you're using a lot of visualization at the same time to take yourself ahead.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing myself in my mind
Right,
having this
right.
physique, and I'm walking as if I already
Yes.
had this physique, because I know I will. I will have
Yeah,
it if I
yeah.
apply enough energy
That's
to it.
right. You certainly will. You look great anyway, but
Well, thank you.
if you need to go there, I think it's wonderful.
So
It's
what's the
wonderful.
third gateway?
Okay.
I'm getting all
All
excited.
right. The third gateway is the one where we actually have to do our homework. We have to learn how to meet our needs. We have to learn how to educate ourselves. We have to learn how to negotiate for ourselves. And again, I'm going to give you a quick female example.
Okay.
I had a client, and she had brought home these beautiful shelves to put up on the wall. However, her husband did not respond as if they were beautiful. He responded like, oh, well, they're stupid, they're flimsy, they're going to fall off, and don't think I'm going to help you, and you don't know how to hang them up. Long story short, they were under her bed for a number of years. Finally, after a certain amount of restorative therapy, and that's the type of therapy that I offer is a positive therapy, positive psychology, she decided to take them out from under her bed. She became courageous. Now she's moving into action and learning how to meet her needs. She went to the hardware store, she got the right fittings, she put them on the wall, she put all the pretty things she had wanted to put on years ago, and it was beautiful. Now, okay, we have this real, this dark husband, this angry husband. What happens? What happens? Well, would you believe it? Nothing. He goes and he doesn't even seem to see them for 2 or 3 weeks. When he finally reacts, he says, oh, they look nice. I mean, that's the irony in life, that so often the things that we stay frightened of and the things we let go, learning how to do correctly and moving ahead, whether it's graduate school, whether it's a skill, no matter what it is, we think we have these demons out there. They're gone. Maybe a passing remark. The person doesn't even remember they made the remark.
Making it, yes.
And so I know this is an important gateway for you, and I know your work is tied right into it in Brooklyn, so leap in.
I don't expect to succeed the first time I attempt something. I don't expect to succeed the first 10 times I attempt something. But I know that as long as I don't give up in my attempting, and as long as I continue to learn from each attempt, that if I don't give up, eventually I will get to where I'm going. It's very important. What I notice people doing is if they don't succeed the first or second time, they beat themselves up and they give up.
Yeah.
And Thomas Edison and other folks have failed thousands of times to get to where they're going.
But you actually have a program going, or the beginnings of a program in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Tell us a tiny bit what's happening.
Currently, one of the things I'm doing is I've created a unique internship program called New Shores. And the metaphor is a boat journey, going on a journey with a boat. And in this internship, we've removed stigma by removing the hierarchy. So I have people interning who are psychiatric patients. I have people interning who are in substance abuse programs. I have people interning who work at CBS. I have people interning who are instructors in business schools. I have people from all over the place.
Wow.
And you come in and everybody's tied into doing what needs to be done, and you don't know who is staff, who's a volunteer, who's an intern, and if they're an intern, where they come from.
Is there any way that people can get in touch with you very quickly if they want to
Sure.
follow up on this?
ThorTheBarbarian@yahoo.com.
Okay, that's good. And also to follow up with me, Enchanted Self at, I'm sorry, let me back up, www.enchantedself.com. That's my website, and that also has access to the email address. I think that people listening, just to quickly, because we only have like a minute and a half, take what Thor is doing, back it up to yourself, and see where you can start to move ahead with some small step in self-education, or actually reaching out and saying, I need certain training, help me with it. and beginning to find a resource. So this is the third gateway. This is the hardest because you know how we felt coming home from school. We never wanted to do the homework later. This is the homework gateway. But they're all tied into the secrets of enchanted living. And let's just sum up. The first secret is taking the time to rediscover your strengths, your talents, and your lost potential. The second secret is risking making yourself a hero or a heroine, seeing the drama in your own life, living your legend, as I think Thor would say, and as I would say, singing the song of your soul. Secret number 3, risking to move into an action mode, easier now that you are precious to yourself. And I think we're being cued close to going off the air. So, well, I'm going to go back to my enchanted self realm tonight. I think, Thor, you're going back to your
I'm
realm.
going back to the wilds of Pennsylvania, yes.
And we'll meet again. We'll meet in town. I'm sure we'll meet in each other's realms. And meanwhile, you can be in contact with both of us to follow up on material and other ways to start to live your dreams through the secrets that will soon become familiar to you of how to move through the gateways of enchantment. Bye for now.
Safe journeys and joyous adventures.